Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another enlightening episode of Scouting for Growth, the podcast where we spotlight the trailblazers and innovators shaping industries. Today, we are about to embark on a journey into the world of insurance, but not as you traditionally know it. Imagine an industry seamlessly intertwined with the pulses of technology. Yes, picture a realm where weather insurance is not just a concept, but a reality being sculpted every day. Today's guest is someone who doesn't just envision this future, but is actively crafting it. Yes, let's welcome Jacqueline Legrand, a name that resonates with transformative leadership in the global insurance industry. From orchestrating the radical transformation of Brokerslink to co-founding Maptycs, an InsurTech firm that is redefining how we perceive weather risk analysis and risk exposures, Jacqueline's legacy is nothing short of extraordinary. With her finger firmly on the pulse of digital transformation, she advocates for an harmonious marriage between technology and insurance. We are about to delve into a narrative beaming with transformative milestones, insight into the potential of geospatial analysis, and the challenges and triumphs of revolutionizing an industry full of tradition. Jacqueline's story promises inspiration and lessons for every visionary, from her impressive history across global insurance markets to a relentless pursuit of innovation. So stay tuned as we embark on this growth journey. Let's scout for a sustainability-led insurance future with Jacqueline Legrand. Bonjour, Jacqueline.
Bonjour, Sabine.
How are you?
I'm great. And you?
I'm good. I'm so honored to have you on Scouting for Growth. Thank you very much for joining me today.
The honor is all mine.
So just to get started, please, I would love to know a bit about you, right? It would be great for our listener for you to introduce yourself and tell us how you moved from corporate life to building Maptycs.
Sure. So I started my career in corporate with IBM in technology. And after 8 years in the tech, I moved to insurance, fell in love, and spent the big chunk of my career as a broker, as we say in the dark side. And I worked as a broker. I worked with big clients, complex property programs. And it's how came the idea of Maptycs, which, by the way, stands for mapping and analytics. Because at that time, I realized how difficult it is to have a hand on property exposure, on exposed climate risk area. So we actually built Maptycs for our first client that used to be a client of mine as a broker. It's a company called McEnroe & Forbes. It's a large private equity in the US, and they have a big property portfolio. And the risk manager also had this idea of geospatial visualization / analytics. And from this point on, that was in 2016, we developed further the solution to address an adjacent market, the insurance industry. And we signed with AXA US and a few other clients. So yes, we were so lucky because we started the business with paying clients from day one.
This is awesome. And just to give a little bit of context for our listeners, Jacqueline is French like me. And so I'm very, very pleased that we have this in common. but you also live in United States. You have an history in insurance, and you know very well the broker market, but you also have worked in countries like Brazil. So I would love for you to help us understand, what have you taken from your insurance expertise and all those markets you have worked around across your career to shape your global insurance expertise?
So yes, so for the little story, I became involved in the global brokerage when I arrived in the US because of my accent. So they put me, of course, in the international department. And I built a fabulous network of independent brokers around the world, mostly through Brokerslink. And this is how you can rely on each of these broker expertise in their local market and culture. So you make sure that as a global broker, you build programs for your client, for your global risk manager, that are not only in line with their strategy, but also aligned with the local market practices and regulations.
Mm-hmm.
So your colleague, I learned very early on that your colleagues on the ground play a critical role. And you need them, whether it is to negotiate local coverage or to work on a claim with the local expert and adjuster.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that independent broker networks have a very compelling proposition today in the global brokerage industry, because the local brokers are deeply rooted in their local industry and culture, and they usually have steady teams, and they are focused on local services with a long-term perspective, which is not always the case with large alpha brokers, although their challenge today is to survive in a huge M&A trend as we see coming.
Yeah, indeed. And I think it's really important to understand, because I dissected your CV, Jacqueline. You have worked with Brokerslink, and you have built there an environment where you were able to also address many challenges. And I think it would be great to go into that, as you actually already highlighting, you know, that the broker market is transforming and there are a lot of M&As. But also you have built an over a 40 million euro business across a very short period of time, right? And so it'd be great to understand challenge strategies that have helped you to build Maptycs today.
Sure. So, I mean, along the years, like you said, I've been involved in different businesses. In the case of Brokerslink, it was an interesting story, because it was an association that became a fully incorporated business with 55 shareholders from around the world. So here the challenge was really to transform the culture from, if you want, a club of friends, of professional friends, doing business together, which works great, into a company that needs to exist by itself and develop a steady stream of revenue, because now you have shareholders. So here really the point was to review or really clarify the strategic positioning of Brokerslink as such. And as always, with any business, that's the big thing I learned here that I will always use, is what is the vision, what is the value proposition for each and every stakeholders, and what is the business model, and what is the execution plan, and what is the roadmap, always with a realistic approach. Okay. Mm-hmm. And that is, for me, that was super important. And then I had to sell that to get the buy-in first of the board, meaning 12 guys who were each CEO of their own brokerage from 12 countries. And then, because people are so important in any execution plan, I traveled the world to tell the story, get the buy-in of each of the members and insurance markets. So it was exhausting, but it was fun, and I enjoyed the journey every day of it. So that was a lot of learning through Brokerslink for sure.
This is superb. This is superb. And so looking at, Maptycs, as you said, you have realized there was a major challenge in the market. There was a massive gap. And that what got you to find a way to orchestrate, to identify an opportunity in geospatial and enable to solve I think for me, you are solving a major problem, which is commercial line and sustainability. So let's dive into what got you to develop maps to enable customers. That may be brokers, that may be corporations, that can be insurance, it could be reinsurers, to get better visibility of risk. And that could be, I've seen some of those beautiful maps you guys are producing, right? Today we are suffering with wildfires everywhere, right? And flooding and tornadoes in other regions, right? So tell us how that came about.
Sure. So like you said, so we had already started the product, we had clients, and then that's what I call the momentum. So exactly in the line of what you said, we saw, like everybody else, the acceleration of natural disasters because of climate change. And at the same time, the explosion of high quality location intelligence data. And that was the timing for us, because now we could solve a problem that had to be solved now.
Mm-hmm.
And the timing is key, I believe, in any startup company. So the issue for the challenge, I should say, for risk professional was with all these claims and losses coming, and this is not stopping anytime soon, and all this data that they could use to make better assessment and better pricing and better risk mitigation, how to use that with their legacy system that usually are not fit to integrate all this data that is complex and coming in all type of formats. And this is what we were doing, because what we do in Maptycs is we integrate the portfolios of our clients alongside with a la carte external data. And what we do well is to mix and match any type of data geometries with any set of coordinates, meaning a location. So our tool was becoming very relevant, and we really enable corporate insurer MGAs, brokers, to have a good assessment of their property risk exposure, because now they can see either one location at a time or accumulations across their portfolio, and they can mix and match their data with risk data that could be either static data like flood risk, wildfire risk, earthquake risk, and more, but also real-time data, because we integrate real-time data with a real-time data aggregator on severe weather, and we have a notification system so our clients can set up alerts. So basically our tool came really at the right moment to help risk professionals to underwrite, assess property risk, and also for risk mitigation and for event response.
Incredible. So can you share with us an example of clients you've worked with? And I want people to really understand the value of starting combining static data with dynamic data. Because today, I think it's fascinating because I don't think a year or 2 years ago we were talking about dynamic business model, but the business model of corporations is becoming more dynamic. We see it because of the climate change and the weather risk we are seeing every day. And as a result, they need to respond much quicker to those risks, either internally or externally, by helping their clients move, preventing the risk. You won't believe, but one of my closest friends was in Hawaii, and they got surprised by the recent wildfire. He was literally in that region, and they had to be extracted, and he never experienced that before. And he said that actually is a life-changing moment, and where you realize why we need to pay attention to sustainability and climate risk more and more nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, totally. I think today there is a fact and a way that everybody realizes across the chain, meaning insurers and all the stakeholders, that there is an interest for everyone to share data and to better utilize the data that is available. And we see in parallel amazing companies. We are now starting a partnership with TensorFlight and later on with Scroll. So they are providing building data, meaning more accurate value on the replacement cost of a building, for example, and the footprint. And we are also integrating risk data. And all this is important. We always know in this business that data is key, and volume of data is huge today. But then you need quality, you need some data validation, and you need consistency, and you need currency of data. And today in the property risk and climate risk, more than ever, everybody understands that. Insured because they will retain a lot of their risk, because the market, the property market risk is now more and more expensive and capacity is shrinking. Mm-hmm. So they understand also that it's not just to have insurance, you need to have mitigation, you need to have business continuity. So everybody understands that they have really to help one another with the expertise that exists in this industry, the data that exists and is coming in quantity with greater quality, to build a sustainable model, where there is risk mitigation and where there is, of course, insurance. But it's important that now we are reasonable on how we build to adjust to climate change, for example. So we have clients now looking with our climate change module, looking on the longer term. We have a big construction client in France, and they plan to use Maptycs even to assess which type of material, type of construction, type of renewable energy they should recommend to their client in their construction project.
Incredible.
Why just adapt, be more resilient?
Yep. Incredible. So that is already a massive impact, right? Where you can actually see the impact across the value chain. How one client of Maptycs can actually impact and actually affect the behavior of their own clients and create that awareness around sustainability, climate change, and how they can start deploying KPIs and metrics to enable them to be much more relevant for their own clients. Because we know that a lot of the new talent of tomorrow are very purpose-driven, and when they look at who they want to work with or which product they want to buy, they are looking at that sustainability purpose more and more.
Definitely. And it's something that has really to be, we all have to be conscious of that. We cannot, after a big event, rebuild as it was before, because we know there will be another flood coming. Right?
Yeah.
So everybody has to contribute collectively to make sure that what we do in terms of property, which is the risk we address with Maptycs, really is thoughtful, because now we know what will likely happen in the future. So we have to really adapt, adjust, and prepare the world of tomorrow. And like you said, I mean, all the new talents are very interested with this.
Indeed, yeah. So you're an expert in technology, coming from IBM, and also in insurance, Jacqueline. So where do you see the future of digital transformation heading? And partly looking at geospatial analysis. When I started looking at geospatial data, I realized that there was a lot of skepticism in insurance. And the main reason is because I think a lot of the risk managers didn't really understand what outcome, right? They were not always thinking probably with the end in mind. So they didn't really realize which data point they needed to look for specific problem they were solving for. You mentioned flooding, we talked about wildfire, but there are so many different environmental events and risk we need to look at, and each one of them cannot use the same data or geospatial analysis. So tell us, what is your view of the digital transformation we're heading?
Yes, so we have been talking about digital transformation for a while, but I want to think that we are really at a pivotal moment in the industry, because there is so much change in the risk landscape, in the society, new risks coming, so that there is no choice, especially when we face risks that are extremely difficult to assess and therefore to insure. So we have really now to be able to maneuver with more data. And a lot of data today is coming into geospatial format. So I really believe that in our field, the geospatial analytics, that really everything geospatial location intelligence type of data is becoming mainstream. There is no question about it. And this is necessary really to keep a sustainable insurance market. Everything will be about better risk assessment and prevention. Because if there is no prevention, there will be no insurance.
Absolutely.
I think it's as simple as that. Not only in property, it's going to be the same in cyber, which is another big risk today that is here to stay. I think climate change and technology are the big driver of changes. I think that one of the persistent really challenge in the insurance industry is the bottleneck with data. For a number of reasons, a lot of companies really not willing yet to share data, keep their data, and although not really exploring or using well the data they have. So there is so much data that can be used. And like I said before, the problem is now to go from the volume to the quality, because something that hasn't changed is garbage in, garbage out. And any technology you use, whether it is geospatial, AI, and the like, you have to be very careful on the quality of the data you integrate into the reasoning to get a relevant outcome and a reliable result. Yeah. And I think that's where we are now. I think there is no question we know how to work with data. The problem is the data we work with.
Yes, and as you said, data has become the all of every business. And then when you start combining that with, I guess, Internet of Things sensors, and then applying the right machine learning algorithm on top of it, you start actually being able to do really interesting things, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. And for us, really, the point that we look at, so we are not data experts. Okay, we are not a data provider. It's really for each of our clients to know which data they believe is of better quality. But what we can measure really is the consistency and the quality of the API, the delivery, because we integrate this data in our platform. So we need to make sure that we can do that, the integration in a reliable way, day in, day out, and to make sure that the data set we get are always as complete as possible.
Yeah,
that's our goal. And I think that providers are also now focused on the quality of the data they propose. Quality is, we have the volume. There is no problem on volume. Okay? Today, we are really focused on the quality.
Interesting. I would like to spend a moment to address ourselves to the investors. And I think also I would like us to address ourselves to the innovators. And what I mean by that, Jacqueline, you and your team have years of experience in technology and industry before even set up Maptycs. And I would like you to tell us how you have used those strengths of yours and within your team to actually build a business which is revenue generating with very little capital invested from investors.
Sure. So I think first, we had a collaborative approach. We never wanted to disrupt anything. We are here to help. And so we were lucky to start with our first clients, which of course is a very good way to start as a new company. And we decided that we want to stay as a boutique provider, at least for the time being. So we provide boutique services. We are very close to our clients and we listen to our clients.
Yeah.
And in fact, it's listening to clients and subject expert on the market that we added features on the product.
Mm-hmm.
We listen, and our clients love it because it creates a sense of partnership with our client. And they love when we actually execute their ideas. And I think that also we always, because we know that it's challenging for each of our clients to implement innovation, even if it's with our product that is an efficiency platform for property risk exposure management. Is change. It's a new product. And because we know that it is difficult to implement innovation, we always make sure that we can fit very well in their existing process. We don't want to arrive and they have to change their process to integrate Maptycs. Okay, first we need to integrate.
Yes,
and that's key. And I think that looking back, I think that co-founder respective expertise in both technology and the insurance industry was instrumental to make sure we have a robust solution. And it's a given, but it's not always the case.
Yeah.
And two, that we are able to sell technology based on industry use cases and not on technical capabilities.
Yeah.
And I think this has been also very important. For us, it's fascinating, to be part of the transformation of the industry as it's happening today. But I think it's important that if you want to innovate, you have to understand this industry.
Yes, 100%. And you already highlighted, change and innovation and being part of it and a contributor to fitting within, if you don't mind me saying, fitting within a process, within a company reinvention, which can lead to transformation. Because as you're actually changing step by step, process by process, workflow by workflow, then you are building a much more adaptive, preventative, and dynamic business model behind the scene, and that in collaboration with the client, which is very powerful.
Yeah.
Which takes me actually, Jacqueline, what are the challenges we are facing in fintech and InsurTech right now? Historically, insurers are not the fastest to change. And, working with investors, often they said, why is it taking 18 months to close a deal in insurance? What is happening with our money? But it would be great as investors and potential new innovators are listening to this podcast and discussion to understand the transformation we are going through, but also the challenges we are facing as well.
Sure. So insurers obviously have financial stability, they have billions of legacy data, and they have the muscle, the runaway to invest in innovation. So they are very important in what we are living now. But what they don't have, and it's important they admit they don't have, is the flexibility and the agility to build software solution as we, small company with technologies, can do. So on the paper, there is a huge opportunity for very effective collaboration on the creation of an ecosystem, which I believe is really what has to happen. It's a huge opportunity for partnership and working together, because InsurTech and insurer are meant to work together.
Yes.
At the end of the day. So the thing is that when you are an insurer, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, there are so many new technologies out there, right? And I can understand their fear in a way. Where do we look at? What are the technologies that are relevant to us? Because if you spend your time wanting to implement too many new technologies, we know that people are very afraid of innovation and transformation. So you need to make sure you make the right choices.
Yes.
And that's not easy, right? Whether it is for a new distribution model, efficiency tool, there needs to be a dynamic where insurers have a way to find the relevant technologies that will really help their own companies. And I admit it's not so easy.
No, it's not. Looking actually at the insurance business model, where do you think is the biggest opportunity? When you look at the insurers, the way they think about it would be distribution, product innovation. Now with all the generative AI and ChatGPT, many are trying and testing generative AI in the marketing department, in the insight space to actually see whether they can accelerate and speed things. Then you have the processing area, right? Driving operational efficiencies around underwriting, claims, servicing. And then finance and legal. So where do you see the most likely area those companies are looking to bring innovation in?
I think they should bring it in any areas first to have more efficiencies internally, whether it is claims, risk assessment, and mostly cyber and property. So everything that can bring efficiency, they should definitely look at, because it's a matter of, in a way, improving their core system with efficiency tool. And then, of course, they want to adapt to the new expectations of customers. And I really think, and I heard Inga Bill at the InsurTech Insight in London said it, like, we need to be back to clients. And everything that can help those insurers to get closer to their client should be used, because it's becoming so important today that people want clarity, transparency. There are a lot of opportunities. I think the insurance market in this respect is a bit behind the banking and other industries, servicing industries. So whatever technology they can use that exists readily available on the market to do so, they should use it.
Yeah,
Not to
indeed.
mention, of course, embedded insurance and benefits, everything that could be around benefits for employees. There are so many fields.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Embedded insurance, cyber, future of work. So, alongside longevity and aging, so therefore going into the benefits, all those themes are so important alongside the fact that we are working now remotely. A lot of insurers have had to adapt their working practice. Some have been were already ahead of the curve, like Zurich and AXA, who already knew that having, healthy work-life harmony and balance amongst members of their team was critical. So, it's just continuing something they already had started often before, before the pandemic.
Yeah. And I want to add, I think it's important, Sabine, that insurers understand, because they used before to buy like technology in the old way, like you develop a software for life.
Yes.
Okay. So now it's a much shorter term. It's efficiency tool. It's SaaS.
Yeah.
Okay. And all what we do, because we are software companies, is going to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to follow the trends, because all of our clients will need the same adjustment, because we are living in a fast changing landscape and world. So it's not like you make a choice that has to fit with all what could happen in 10 years, because nobody knows what will happen in 10 years, or has to be able to take all your corner cases.
Mm-hmm.
People have to think 80-20 and fast.
Yes.
And then to adjust, because all new technologies are flexible, they're agile, right? So that's also something that is new, I believe, to the incumbents.
Yes. And when you think about agility and flexibility and being able to test and learn, right, to work much faster in chunks, you can't spend a year building a product which might not be relevant for your client anymore. You need to be able to do that iteratively in, I think, 8 to 12 weeks sprints. And, something which doesn't work in 8 to 12 weeks is absolutely fine, because you have not wasted any resources, really. You have learned and move on to something else. So I think that adaptability is critical today. No business has the choice. They cannot remain in the traditional old way of doing things.
I agree.
That takes me actually, Jacqueline, to your personal growth and leadership style as well. I would like for us to address ourselves to leaders out there, but also in particular to women leaders, because you have been and you are a woman leader who is inspiring many other women, and you are coaching, mentoring other women as well. So tell us how you've been able to balance, a career, a family, building businesses, being a board members as well, to sharpen your leadership position and skills across the different countries you have been able to work, and how that can help others do better for themselves and for others.
Yeah, I think we are all learning each and every day. So I had the opportunity to effectively work in different countries, live and work with people from different backgrounds, culturally, professionally. And this has taught me really to learn fast, to adjust fast, to be fearless in a way, and to always stay humble, but with confidence. So I think I built confidence because you have to move, you have to understand how things work in different regions, and there is no way back. I'm never looking back. I think I can tell I worked hard really to build new skill and expertise all the time, and I think it's very important always to learn, and it's also fun and interesting, like we were saying before. I think it's super important to be clear. You need to have, for you, for your business, a clear value proposition. You need to understand what you are doing and have a clear idea on your business model.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you will adjust all the time, but you need to make sure what you're to understand and to be clear on what you are going to tell to, in my case now, to potential clients, partners, investors. You need to have your ideas very clear in your head. I think also what is important is it's great to dream, but when you are into execution, you need to be very realistic. Rome was not built in one day. Okay?
Yes.
So you have to roll your sleeves and be realistic, even in the numbers you are presenting to investors, because otherwise it will backfire, and we see it right now. So I think you have to be honest and realistic with what is possible or not. I think it's super important. So for me, it's a question of reputation too.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned these past years as a founder in the InsurTech world, like you have to keep focused. You have to keep focused and to avoid distraction. And there are many distractions out there. You have to keep focused. And that's hard because you always feel like maybe you don't know, maybe you should look around. Sometimes you need to just focus. Listen to client, to expert, to your team. Listen to people around. I think it's key. We always learn. We are in a world, Sabine, we said before, everything's going so fast. We have to listen. We have to share. We cannot do it alone. And what has been fun with Maptycs really is the idea that we are all in different time zones within the team.
That's super cool.
And that's so cool because we work 24 hours.
Yes, you're in 24 hours business, indeed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So we have things we discuss with the team in India. And by the time we wake up, okay, it's fixed, it's done, we are testing it. It's really good. And it's something that I never experienced in that magnitude before. So that's great. And of course, Sabine, as we both know, the network, building a network along the way, helping the people in your network, being there for your network, and you know they'll be there for you. Because at the end of the day, as a startup company, your first 20 clients come from your network. I mean, full stop.
Indeed. Yes. And we have all experienced that. You've been, in industry for many years. I've been in industry for 25 years. And, I feel really fortunate to have probably I counted, from most of my experience in IBM, PwC, FICO, Pega, when you start counting those logos, you realize actually that count to 100. And as long as you keep in the network and keep in contact, people were, maybe most junior role are being now executives in those companies. And so they are part of your life. So it's so humbling and enriching at the same time.
Yeah, we are growing together. And at the end of the day, I mean, the best part of our professional lives is when we interact with people.
Indeed.
It's the best part.
It is the best part. And today we do a lot of that digitally, but it's actually a very fulfilling part. So what would be your last words of wisdom, Jackie, for all our listeners?
Yeah, very simple. Always sitting back and thinking why we do what we do.
Yeah. I need to confess something to you. This morning, I put one of our discussion I had recently, remember from one of the lives we had on LinkedIn and on authentic identity. And we were exchanging messages around keeping it simple. So today I had a reel mentioning Jacqueline Legrand. So this is Jacqueline Legrand who actually shared, keep it simple.
Yeah, it's true. Less is more, definitely. We see it every day. Yeah.
So where can we find you? Where can the listener discover Maptycs and maybe reach out if they want to ask you more questions?
Sure. So they can see me if they happen to be in New York, or sometimes in Annecy, which is my little hood in the French Alps, or even in London or Paris, where I am on a regular basis. I always love in person, but of course, on a day in, day out way, LinkedIn is probably the easiest way, or ask Sabine.
Bien sûr. And I will have all the details regarding Maptycs, your profile on LinkedIn, as well in the notes of the podcast. So thank you, Jackie, for being with me today. Thank you for this great conversation and sharing a bit more about Maptycs and the amazing business you've built over the past few years. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, and thank you very much, Sabine.
If you like this podcast, subscribe now, share with your friends, and if you enjoyed it, please give it a 5-star review. Also, if you want to cover any specific subject with me, contact me on Instagram under Sabine VdL Officials or LinkedIn under Sabine VdL. Thank you.